Hey folks, hey folks, hey folks.
Good evening, Packer Nation. Thanks for tuning in to Absolute Packer Podcast, episode number 27. At this point, we don't have a name for it. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I'm here, Jeremy's here, and my buddy over on the other side, Elliot's here. How's Elliot doing?
Yo, I am good, all things considered.
Right. Andy is obviously not here with us. He had a bout with E. coli, and then he went into urgent care, got it diagnosed. They sent him home saying just drink lots of fluids. And it progressed over that weekend, and then Monday it got to the point where family went to his home and found him completely incoherent, took him to the hospital, or actually had an ambulance come and take him to the hospital. Found out that he had a rare strain of the E. coli virus called HUS, which I don't know what that is, but it's not good. Basically, they found out that his kidneys were shut down, and they flew him down to Madison because they had better equipment down there to track his progress and get him back to health. But as we stand here today, and this is September 3rd, and this happened around the 17th of August, he just had basically a little bit of background. He was medically induced coma, where they put him under to get his meds right. And today he had the the tube, the breathing tube taken out of him. So he's able to breathe without a tube today. So he has progressed remarkably well. It sounds like he's more coherent. He's able to move his head, move his eyes, grab. He has motor skills, I should say. So he's making his way back. The unfortunate part of it is this is something that's going to take him a long time to get back from. But the positive note, he's a young, healthy guy in great shape. So that's going to really help him recover a lot quicker. But he's got a long road ahead of him. And Elliot and I are tremendously saddened by this news, and we're just going to really pray and hope that we can get him back as soon as possible. And, hopefully that's sooner than later, because he's missing out on all this good Packer stuff that's happening.
Yeah. And like I was saying to you before I hit the record button, I haven't measured the minutes, but if I were to guess, I would say if we have an hour-long episode, he is 30 plus minutes of that. So I'm planning on this being relatively brief. I don't know. It started out as a little bit of a downer. I hope that doesn't. I hope we have increasingly good news as the weeks go on. But yeah, there's good Packer stuff to talk about.
Yes, a lot of good Packer stuff to talk about. We are literally into the 2018 season now. We're coming into the regular season. We got the Bears coming up here this coming Sunday night at 7:20 here at Lambeau.
First Bears game I get to go to.
Yes, attaboy.
I've never been to a Bears game before.
Oh, you haven't? Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
Not one time. Never.
I was actually at the Miracle game where Mikowski threw the touchdown pass. I think it was to Sterling Sharp in the corner of the end zone. It was a big hoopla. I mean, we were a horrible team that year. The Bears were a Super Bowl contender, and just the hoopla that went behind trying to figure out whether Mikowski went beyond the line of scrimmage when he threw the game-winning touchdown. It was just, everybody was just sitting in their stands, just holding their breath. And I think, a lot of people passed out over that, but in more ways than one, because, we won the game, and it was a very emotional game, but it's a good series to go to. If you can ever go to a Bear game, I would definitely try to get to one in your lifetime.
So my dad got season tickets. He was on the list for 8 million years. And I think he signed up when I was practically born. I don't even know. And he could sell those tickets and pay for all of his season tickets, just the Bear game.
Oh, wow.
But he, he repeatedly says that's not why I got him. I got him so that we could go to the games, right? But it's very, I don't know what the word is. I was going to say humbling, but it's knowing that other people are willing to pay so much money for it makes me feel like I should appreciate it more than I possibly could. If that makes any sense at all. Like, totally. Like there's no game to me that I would pay $1,000 a ticket to go to. I just would not. I mean, maybe a Super Bowl if travel was free, but
and lodging.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. I don't want to work hard enough to be wealthy enough to be able to think that's not a lot of money. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, we finally got to the point that you were trying to make. So yeah. And we've all been there, so
anyway, I'm looking forward to it. So, I don't know where you want to exactly kind of bust into that, but I'd love to. I would love to hear your expertise as to what I should be looking for as I'm watching the game.
What you should be looking for. Well, I mean, we didn't get to see the starters play a lot in the preseason, so we really didn't get to see what they can do. The new defensive coordinator, Mike Pettin, hasn't really schemed anything around the teams that we play in the preseason. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out and attacks the offense, because they're going to run the ball and they're going to want to pound us into submission. They do have some very good receivers. They got Allen Robinson, which came over from Jacksonville. We had the opportunity to get him. He chose the Bears over us. So, we have that. And then they also have a really promising rookie, Anthony Miller, who's supposed to be lights out, somebody to watch there. So offensively, I don't see them as a tricky opponent to stop. But defensively, they do. I mean, last year they had a top 10 defense. And then this year, as we all know or should know, they just traded for Khalil Mack. Who I think a lot of Packer fans, including myself, have wanted Mack to come and play in the green gold, but that didn't work out. So he should play. He should probably play anywhere from 20 to 30 snaps, I would think. So that'd be one thing to watch there, is to see what I imagine he's not going to have any idea about a game plan or scheming. So they're pretty much going to tell him to go out there and rush the passer, which is his best feature. So in that respect, it should be a really good game, because I think their defense is up for the challenge. They do have really good pass rush. They obviously have Khalil Mack. They have Leonard Floyd, who was a rookie last year, who had double-digit sacks, and then they have Akeem Hicks, defensive lineman that is very stout against the run and a very good pass rusher as well. So could give our offensive line a lot of fits, so I would definitely watch our offensive line, and I would definitely watch how Khalil Mack attacks us.
Yeah. So I think we were before we hit recording when you were saying that you felt like he impacted the Vegas lines, at least for reaching the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Single-handedly.
Before Mack came to the Bears were 100-1 favorite to win the Super Bowl. Now that he's on board, and I can't remember the exact figure, but it's either 60 or 70-1 favorites to win the Super Bowl. So he improved their odds like literally by a third, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like exponentially more. So the Vegas odds on the games this week, the Packers are favored 8 points. That's the highest of any matchup the whole week.
This week.
So that is higher than Tampa Bay at New Orleans. That is higher than San Francisco at Minnesota. That is higher than Houston at New England. And the Jets at Detroit. Yeah. So
that is interesting.
I mean, not substantially, right? I mean, 6.5 is the next highest, but It's I feel like that's very interesting. Being a Packer fan, I love seeing that, but in just what I've seen in the preseason, what it's just the news that has just maybe it's just like um the the momentum of the news cycle, I guess. Just seems like the Bears are, putting some pieces together, right? In the offseason, just feels like they've been doing some things that I would have expected that to be much closer.
Right. I think you hit on the point that they have significantly improved this offseason now. They have a new head coach in Nagy. They have a new number one wide receiver, like I mentioned before. They have Khalil Mack, obviously. They have a few new linebackers. I mean, really, across the board, I can't see how the Bears have regressed where they really should have improved. And 8.5 points seems like just I wouldn't bet against that. I mean, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. It's going to be a tougher game than what people think, And we all know the Packers always start the year off really slow.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's always the danger with it with any team, right? I mean, the teams that are there in week 1 are not the teams that are there in week 5. I feel like all teams go through some transformations. Some of the new players, they get acclimated. Some of the even veterans, they shake off the rust or whatever metaphor you want to use. It's hard to just imagine that any team in the NFL would be an 8-point favorite in week 1, I guess is my feel. And I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he is the best of all time, but I don't know. This makes me afraid. I get a little superstitious. I'm always very happy when we lose at least one preseason game. Because and I don't have the exact numbers ahead in front of me, but needless to say, we haven't won any Super Bowls that I can recall when we won all 4 preseason. I think that's true, but it just seems like if you do too well in the preseason, that it doesn't get you started off anyway on the right foot.
Right, and I think we have to take record and throw it completely out in the trash in the preseason because, I mean, these teams, especially the Packers, they're all about filling the bottom part of the roster. They have their starters pretty well set, and they didn't play their starters really all that much in the preseason. So it was really a 4-game audition for these guys that are going to be backing up all the starters. And that's pretty much all we saw. So record, it doesn't mean a dang thing. It really doesn't.
No. So what's your thought on that? I guess I was really fishing for, do you think Packers are going to win?
Yes. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it's going to be.
Doesn't matter. Nobody cares if it's a blowout in January.
Right. But let's take this into consideration too. Last year on the, I think it was Thursday Night Football, it was their very first game. Kansas City went up to New England and bombed New England. I mean, just totally. And then everybody that game, even the sports media was like, oh my God, New England's in trouble. And it's like, wait a second, this is one game. Yeah, they really looked really shitty, but it was one game. And then they ended up playing the Super Bowl and Kansas City just barely snuck into the playoffs. So what happens in the first game does not tell you what's going to happen the rest of the year.
There still are only so many games. There's 16 games, so it's not like, the other sports, right? Baseball, basketball, those are, you can lose a game. It's almost insignificant, a single game. Mm-hmm. It's not insignificant in the NFL ever. I mean, it's very rare where a division isn't, decided by a game in the last week. Almost all divisions.
Oh, you're right.
So,
you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's my take. I just I had no idea. I just quickly Googled the Vegas odds and pulled it up, and I'm like, wow, I did not expect that. I just did not. I guess I didn't expect it of any teams. Even seeing something like Houston at New England, yeah, I would favor New England, but 6.5 would be as high as I would go. And there's, Chicago, Green Bay is higher. So I was thrown for a little bit of a loop there, but I digress. So, yeah, you got anything else to say about Mr. Mack playing at the Bears?
I don't really have a lot because until I see him play and actually do something, I mean, at this point, he's a blank sheet of paper. He has all these accolades. He has all these statuses as being probably one of the better defenders in the league. But now he's totally transformed, and he's gone to a new team. So, what is Khalil Mack going to be? I don't know. The only thing I do know is that he's $141 million richer.
I think that's the critical part because though it has been several weeks since we recorded, and I know I was like, just do whatever you got to do. If this guy's as good as everyone thinks he is, let's get him.
Right. But I think we all were.
But now that I see the actual price tag, I'm like, yeah, good job.
Oh, I mean, the money figure is just staggering. We'll get into Aaron Rodgers' contract here shortly, but Khalil Mack, just to sign his contract, got $60 million just to sign his contract. So let's say he came to Green Bay. You just signed Aaron Rodgers for $57.5 million, and you signed Khalil Mack. That's just over $115 million that you are giving out to sign a contract. And that money comes from our reserve. That doesn't just come out from any place else. So we have roughly $400 million in the reserve. You're talking about doling out a quarter of that.
Yeah. But that doesn't count against the salary cap. So is that why they're so free and loose with that?
Well, the signing bonus does. It's just spread out over the length of the contract. So let's roll into Aaron Rodgers. If you're aware, and I'm sure everybody in Packer Nation is aware, he did sign a contract that should keep him here for the rest of his career. And I said should because we don't know what's going to happen once the CBA happens. But he did sign a 4-year, $134 million extension. It's on top of the 2 years and roughly $42 million that he had left on his previous contract. So in total, it came out to 6 years, $176 million. There's an extra $4 million that's tied into incentives, and I can go over that in a little bit. But Aaron Rodgers, $57.5 million signing bonus, $67 million is going to be paid out before the end of the calendar year, and then another $80 million then before St. Patrick's Day. So he's going to get $80 million pretty much before the league calendar year. And $103 million is guaranteed over 3 years, which averages this life contract of 6 years, $33.5 million, puts him at the highest paid quarterback in the league. Ever. So it's in essence really a 3-year contract because now his final years are tied with incentives, and we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about $4 million, but in the grand scheme of things, to us, to me and Elliot, it's a lot of money. But
$4 is a lot of money to me.
Right. Yeah. So in the last 3 years of his contract, last 4 years of his contract, his bonus money is tied to playing. He gets extra. I can't even talk anymore. An extra $100,000 if he plays 72.5% of the snaps. Another $120,000 if they make the playoffs. Another $130,000 if they make the NFC Championship. Another $150,000 if they make the Super Bowl. And other incentives are $100K for top 3 in passer rating, completion percentage, interceptions, yards per throw, and TD passes each year. So Aaron will be here for the foreseeable future. Highest paid quarterback in the league as we stand. And a lot of pressure is being put on him because obviously we've just invested the mortgage on him. And I don't know what we have around Rodgers. We're going to see that once we start here against the Bears and progress through the season. I just hope that we can actually keep Rodgers up and keep him healthy.
That's where I'm really terrified, because he hasn't always been. He's not in. It's just the modern NFL. I mean, you can't count on any particular player really being 100% available. So expecting that he's going to carry this team, I am terrified of that. And I did watch the preseason games. I don't have quite the analytical eye that you or Andy do, but I didn't see anything very inspiring from the backup quarterback situation. so I'm a little I'm just leery, if anything happens to him where he's out for half a game. I mean, that could be our whole season. And I like him. He's a very lovable kind of guy, and he is the best. But 6 years, a lot of money. I don't know. Now it makes me nervous.
Well, it should make you nervous because we're going to talk about the second most important part of the team, and that's the offensive line. We have a pretty decent offensive line. We have a all-pro and David Bakhtiari at left tackle, Lane Taylor at left guard. We have Corey Linsley at center. Right now, it sounds like Justin McCray is going to be the right guard, and we have Brian Bulaga at right tackle. Brian Bulaga has not played a full 16 games since 2013, or is it 14? He's not played a full 16 games. So behind him, we have Jason Spriggs, who definitely played better as the preseason progressed, but it's not up to the standards of the level that Bulaga and Bakhtiari bring to the table. So, and then we have, really behind our starters, we have Lucas Patrick, Adam Light, who's a rookie, or Alex Light, excuse me, and Byron Bell. Do any of those guys just make you feel warm and fuzzy inside and all comfortable that they're going to protect Rodgers?
No, if I'm not staring at a roster list or something, I wouldn't even be able to name those guys.
Right.
So no, not at all. Yeah. So, so I do feel, I read some things like Gutekunst, he's, turned over. I don't know if it was like, I don't remember what the exact stat was. I should have kept that. But he, turned over like half of the who we have on the team that's been drafted, before he got there. So like he's willing to make some changes.
Right.
And I just, I'm kind of like half looking for the article that had that, but
I think it's 27 players are new this year.
Yeah, it was. So maybe you saw the same thing I did. So, that's great. Probably. At least he's willing to make some changes. So,
right.
I don't know. I've never felt more nervous about first game of the season than this year for some reason. I can't put my finger on exactly why. I just feel like I know Rodgers is not bulletproof. I know he doesn't have the backup personnel, either in front of him or in back of him. And it's, I don't know. And the Bears are improved. So I'm afraid to watch the game almost.
Well, I don't think your concerns are completely unwarranted. We went through a complete overhaul as a team this offseason. We got a new GM, new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, a whole new power structure, So, and like you said, like you just talked about, half the team is new. So there's a lot of reason to be worried. There's a lot of unknowns. We don't know until they actually start playing the games and seeing where the cards are stacked at this point, but I think across the board, obviously if Aaron goes down, we're done. We're very thin across the whole rest of the team. If we have an offensive lineman go down, we're done. We have Devontae Adams go down, we're hurting. We have Jimmy Graham go down, we're hurting. There's not a lot of I'm going back to my old adage, but not a lot of team depth here to withstand injuries, and it's quite concerning.
Yeah, I mean that we know of. I mean, I also like to temper my fear with, it is the first game. We are early in the season. Somebody might step it up. It's just I'm cautiously optimistic. I guess that's all I want to say.
No, that's well said. That's perfect because with all the unknowns, we really don't know. For no other better way of saying it,
So what I will not be doing is Andy's idea of recording something right after the game, because I will have had too many beers, and
that would make it more fun, Elliot.
It might, but I'm not. See, you're convincing me, and I might forget at the time, and I might accidentally do it. So I'm afraid that I might. Yeah.
Well, I can guarantee you that if we start losing games and Aaron Rodgers goes down, I'm not going to be doing a show sober.
Oh my God. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, one way or the other. I mean, I guess either meaning of sober, right? Like it's a kind of a sobering realization, like like we had last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what else we got.
I mean,
I don't want to belabor things too much. I'm more interested in, I guess, hearing your recap next week than about because it makes me nervous thinking too much about the game before the game.
Well, let's put your doubts at ease right now. We have all of our starters healthy. Right. We are going into this game relatively healthy. It's setting up pretty good here that, we're going to have everybody available, and that means good things. We have decent players on this team, and it's not great, but as long as we have Aaron Rodgers, and now, just like everybody else, as long as we have Aaron, we have a chance,
Yeah. One thing, I mean, so I assume people listening to our little podcast here, they follow Packer News maybe more than I do even. But, we kind of did miss the fact that Kaiser's our number 2 quarterback now. We shipped the other guy off to Seattle. I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of that.
Yeah, I do. It was a year too late.
That was my take. That was absolutely my take. Yeah.
And I hate to harp on Hundley because I like the guy. He comes off as a very personable guy, a very humble guy.
Yeah.
But on the field, he just didn't have it. He just was not a quarterback in this offense. And he actually goes to a really good team where I think his skill set fits what they want to do offensively.
I had that feeling too. I feel like when I look at him, he looks like he could fill in for Wilson.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess everybody wins on that.
It does. And we do, we have Kaiser, like you mentioned, and he's in his second year. So we really don't know what he's going to, progress into. But so far, he shows much more, many more tangibles than what Hundley did to succeed in this offense. I just hope it's not this year that we have to see Kaiser in there.
Yeah.
But his arm strength, his pocket presence, his mobility, I think is a little bit better than Hundley as well. He's able to be a quarterback a lot better than what Hundley was in this offense. Where in Seattle, I mean, it's, pretty much you go back to pass. If you don't have a receiver, you run.
Yep.
And that's exactly what Hundley did here,
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. I think he actually might do well there. And I don't know. We have a history of sending them quarterbacks that don't work out though. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be sad if he was thrust in there for Russell Wilson. taking over for the team,
Right.
because I really don't think he's going to lead them anywhere, but we'll see. But I think he went to a probably one of the better organizations to fit his skill set, and I think that was a positive for him, and it was a positive for us, because we got to move on. We got to give him an opportunity to move on to probably a better situation. All sides win.
Yeah, I think so. So I anticipate that we will get together and record on September 10th. The day after. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Hopefully I'm recovered from the from the game by then. I have a recent history of being an old man. If I go out and party for a day, I'm out of commission for the next day. So.
Hey, I mentioned nothing about that. You did that all yourself.
Right? Exactly.
Podcast.
Chair.
I know, right?